I'd say in the last few years, my feeling about the United States has changed. And it's changed in a somber way. For most of my life, I've been in the optimistic camp with respect to my view of American race relations. The optimistic camp. That's the camp that believes we shall overcome. That's Martin Luther King's camp. I mean, Martin Luther King, hours before he's killed, I've been to the mountaintop. I might not get there with you, but I've glimpsed the promised land. That optimism. Frederick Douglass would be in that tradition. There would be other people, wonderful, good people who would be in that tradition.
Would you, sorry to interrupt, put in the pessimist camp? Would you put Malcolm X in the?
Oh, in the pessimistic camp is the more interesting camp. Ideologically, it is. It's the more interesting camp because in the pessimistic camp, you have, if I was going to list some of my pessimists, pessimist number one, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, the author, principal author, Declaration of Independence. He was also the author of Notes on the State of Virginia. And he said in Notes on the State of Virginia, basically, we shall not overcome. He said, the black people will always know that their forebears were enslaved. And they will always be resentful of that, always be aggrieved by that. Jefferson did not think that we would ever have in the United States a multiracial democracy. He was very critical of slavery. Now, he was a hypocrite. He had slaves. He sold slaves. He was terrible in that way. But he did understand that slavery was horrible. But he did not want he did not want to free the slaves for a variety of reasons. And one reason was because he thought that it would be impossible to have a society in which blacks and whites were equal neighbors. He was thoroughly pessimistic. Another pessimist, Alexis de Tocqueville, thoroughly pessimistic. So who were some of the other pessimists? Abraham Lincoln, pessimistic. That's why he was so interested in colonization. He basically said, I don't like slavery, but blacks and whites are not going to be able to share the United States. Maybe the best we can do is just, ship blacks someplace else.
Can you elaborate on that? I think people would be surprised to hear that you will put Abraham Lincoln in the pessimist camp.
Oh, Abraham Lincoln's thoroughly pessimistic. He believed he was anti-slavery, but he did not believe that blacks and whites would be able to share the United States together. And he was always very interested, therefore, in colonization. Even during the Civil War, he was interested in, maybe all black people be interested in maybe going to Panama? Would they be interested in going someplace else? Because, Lincoln was aware of how racist white people were, including himself. And he did not think that black people and white people would be able to share the United States. Now, there's the black nationalist tradition. You mentioned Malcolm X. Well, before Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. My father was a thoroughgoing pessimist. His view was, the United States was born as a white man's country. It's going to remain a white man's country. And that's the way it is. He was thoroughly pessimistic.